think, in this class. We're going to go all the way up the scale and back down. So just the, and we'll do it 2 times through, actually 3 times through, because we want to make sure we're giving ourselves plenty. So prepare your mind for that 3 times through and see where you get. Here we go. Ready? It'll help our body get used to those longer phrases too. You know, it's like anything. The more that you're doing it, you're not only engaging and getting your vocal muscles singing, but you're also getting engaged in these muscles that help with their breathing. And we're kind of retraining those as well, just as if we were even doing other physical exercise. So, okay. I think what we're going to do is, not quite yet, sorry, one other thing. Just want to talk about vibrato a little bit before I have you guys sing. I'm trying to think, who did not sing last week? Nancy and Dick?
Who did not sing?
Yeah, who did not sing? Okay. I just want to make sure I get you guys first before we go back around. Anyway, vibrato. I know you guys are all probably aware of vibrato. If you had to describe it, how would you describe vibrato?
Wobbly.
Wobbly, okay. Anything else comes to mind?
Wavering of a tone or a voice.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Let me ask you guys this, in general, and this can be very much your opinion, but do you like vibrato when you hear it, or does it depend on the voice? Yeah, and I would say that too. People produce vibrato I've seen them produce vibrato in a lot of different ways. There is a healthier way to produce vibrato and a way not to produce it. And
the new pop singers are all way into that.
Of almost over vibrato?
Way over. Just sing the song.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? The new pop singers.
That you'll hear, yeah, overkill on it.
Yeah.
And if you've ever noticed, and this, I don't know, like, who started doing it. I just remember recalling it because I'm thinking back to high school days for me. But Whitney Houston had a big vibrato, but what happened is if you notice it, and I see this in pop singers now too, it's all this way. The jaw is shaking. And just try seriously, try shaking your jaw, go, ah. I mean, it's actually kind of painful. And it's tiring. If you had to make your vibrato, it's really wears and tears on those muscles, and it's not meant to be that way. Yeah, vibrato. It's almost like, and I actually have this with me. I can't remember to, but if you think of a rubber band, and so if I have this rubber band and I start pulling on it, I'm creating tension on it, right? So if I'm singing and I sing a pitch without vibrato, now I can sing the pitch. But after a while, it starts creating a little bit of tension on my vocal cords because I'm trying to hold it straight. Try that once in your voice. Let's just take a note like I just sang, ah, and see if you can do that once. Just straight. Ah. And you probably could hold it for even a while yet, but eventually there is something that's going to tense up a little bit in your body. if I do this, can one of you twing the thing? Just twing it. Yeah. Okay, so do you see how that, even though I'm holding the tension on it, when she did it's harder to do it by yourself, but it made a little bit of, no, there's less tension. It's not, if I hold this, I could let go of it and we'd have a mess. But just doing that releases some of that tension, and it's almost like a visual of seeing the vibrato. When you sing, instead of that, there's tension. If I let it go, you'll hear a difference, right?
So it's better.
It's better. It's actually a healthier way of singing, of letting it. Now, we've all heard though when you talk about pop singers where it almost becomes an overkill of vibrato. I'm not sure why that is either, why they choose to or not. Everybody's vibrato is different. It's all going to be because our voices are all different. And if you hear two notes, when you talk about waddling, this makes me think of it. You guys have probably all heard people who will sing like these are what we call half steps apart on the piano. They're small increments apart. They're not even a whole step, what we call it, but they're half. But sometimes you hear a vibrato that goes, and that, when you hear a vibrato that's that different in pitch, it usually is a wobbly or a warbly sound. And sometimes that can happen from abusing the voice, that the vocal cords themselves have been so abused that they aren't the vibrato the way it's happening, where the vocal folds are vibrating. They're doing it unevenly, and that's where you get that lapse in the pitch of the. A vibrato should be less than a half a step apart, because it's not two pitches. That would be called a trill. That would be a trill where you'd sing two notes, but vibrato just. You hear the difference, right? So, and most of us will have a vibrato that's not going to be that half step apart. But just to be aware that when you hear it, that's kind of what you're hearing, and it usually means that it's either being produced in not a good way, or there's been some vocal abuse maybe a little bit throughout the years. You don't tend to hear it on younger singers, but then again, sometimes you do if they're trying to make vibrato happen versus letting it happen. Little kids can imitate that sometimes. And most children, not all of them, but most of them don't have vibrato, especially boys, until they've reached puberty or so. It's something that kind of develops with the voice, the way the vocal cords are. But basically, vibrato happens because you have enough breath to have it. And when you're singing naturally, normally, most of us, vibrato will usually come if we're relaxed. If there's some tension in our voice, or we're feeling tension in our body, it may not come out. And I've heard people where it's like sometimes they'll have vibrato and sometimes they don't. And sometimes it is just because their body isn't as relaxed as other times. If you're nervous, the vibrato can feel like it's out of control sometimes. Or it can feel like maybe it's extra fast just because your heart is racing more and you're nervous. But most of us, that vibrato is going to settle in a certain way. And the one beautiful thing about it, it adds color and richness to your tone. So, and your vibrato compared to the next person's vibrato, as far as how it vibrates, like the speed of the vibration, might be a little bit different. That's what makes our voices unique too. Some people you might hear faster vibratos, some you might hear a little bit slower. All of our vibratos, as we age, tend to slow a teeny bit. So that's just something, it's not a bad thing, it's just what happens. But again, if you start hearing those really warbly vibratos, then you'll know there's something.
I have a question about
Yes.
a sound. I don't think you call it vibrato, but I hear people sing it. It's kind of like a squeak. It's kind of like, adding some personality to the end sound.
Is it just on the end of a note?
Pretty much, I think.
And it's not necessarily a waiver of the pitch, or is it?
I don't know. It's just, I can't even do it myself.
Well, you're
but
saying
I
a squeak,
hear
though,
it.
so yeah.
It's kind of a. It's like I want to add some character to this song or word, and
It could be also that as sometimes people push their notes out, that you hear
intentional.
it.
I know that they want it.
Well, it's almost like, it's plain, I was thinking, wow, that's interesting. That's a
Air
fact.
raid.
Yeah.
Test.
It's, sometimes when people sing, I don't know if I can do this either, because I don't normally, but like is it something that where it feels a little pushed at the end or even different?
It's a different thing, but it's,
Do you know anybody that does it, that you
yeah, I
find
hear
like
it,
popular?
I hear it in church. It's, I mean, a small group that sings and, you know, it kind of adds something, but
And you know, it might also be in pop singing, there is, I always hear what I call these little extra improvisations on notes, even when they're just supposed to sing.
yeah.
For instance, if you sang a Christmas hymn, like, hark the if I did my notes, hark the herald angels sing, and if I do with a little bit of pop, hark the herald angels sing,
Something like that.
then it's almost added.
Yeah.
And it's adding a stylistic
Yes,
thing
yes.
is what I think happens, and people will choose to use it whatever styles they're singing. And by the way, vibrato, if you think about it, that's used differently too. If you went to an opera, would you expect to hear a lot of vibrato? In opera or even a choir? Yeah, I mean you would, that's part of the style. You're gonna expect people, ah, you know, right? If you go to a jazz concert, will you expect to hear as much vibrato as you would at the opera? Yeah, probably not, because even in jazz, there's stylistically where people will hold a note, da, and then they let the vibrato. So according to what style you're singing even, you might choose how much vibrato or not. Also, if you sing in choirs ever, sometimes the choir director doesn't want any vibrato, or very little, because he wants your blend to be the same. And because everybody's vibratos, I talk about that speed of your vibrato is a little bit different, that's what's gonna happen. So I don't wanna kill it to death,
I got
but
a question.
Yeah.
When you did Hark the Herald, and you added style to it, technically, what did you do? It's more like you whispered it, but, I mean, from a professional, somebody who knows something about music point of view, what did you do?
I added actually extra notes. I was sliding into my notes. Because I've experienced this with young singers a lot, that I will have them sing something more classical, and all of a sudden they're putting all these slides sort of into it. And so it's like, you guys, I'm like, sing the note one at a time. You know, not hark the herald angels sing, or you might even hear more than that, but it's just, you know, the hark the and again, it depends on what, if you were going for a real pop style with that hymn, well, then you would add that. But in cases of like trying to get high school students singing for something classical, it's trying to say, no, you can't do that classical. It needs to be accurate. I want you guys to try something. We did this with holding the note, but I want you to hold the note out, da, and I want you to do this with your hands, okay? So hold the note, ready? Here we go. Da. Now, try doing this with moving your hands and seeing if you can keep your vibrato from not coming. Okay? See if you can try that, holding the note straight. Da. Is it harder? Does it fight it a little more? Yeah. And the only thing is, I know we don't usually do this when we do vibrato, but again, this actually helps our body is relaxing a little bit. So it's more of a naturalness for the vibrato to come versus if we were just standing holding yourselves. It's something you can experiment with. I think so far people who have sung, I think you guys have